Welcome to my latest experiment. This is a big one, the one I've been waiting for all my life.
What is it?
Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Oh my God.
The cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
And there is no one that does it better.
The Guy and Harley podcast, streaming all over your face.
Perhaps that was the most important part.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Pigville on the internet. Photo shoot fresh, looking like wealth. About to call the paparazzi on myself. Welcome to the Guy and Harley podcast. I'm Guy Pigden.
And I'm Harley Neville. That's got to be a Kanye West or
Close.
someone.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. Close.
Close. So welcome to episode 8 of the Guy and Harley podcast. 2-month anniversary.
Yeah, boy. Old time she flies, eh?
She really does.
Wow, and we are getting consistently 50 downloads a week.
So thank you for all the 50 listeners. We're very happy that you're here with us. You strengthen our resolve to continue on. And we're very happy. We also received our first iTunes review.
Did we?
Yes, we did, from Mr.
G. Pigden.
I actually tried to do one.
Yeah.
And I feel like it didn't let me.
Right.
Like, I wrote it out, did the 5 stars.
Yeah.
And then it's still not up there. However, the review done after me by Shane Simpson.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is there.
Right. Well, see, I should have a go because I'm not on the iTunes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you should definitely try, and if basically,
And so should you, dear listener.
yeah, if all of our 50 listeners gave us a 5-star review on iTunes, we would, and we had 50 reviews, we would definitely start popping up in iTunes for people that are just searching like
Suggested stuff,
filmmaking and comedy and stuff like that. So if you want to do that, that'd be great.
So go ahead and do that right now.
Stop listening to this or do it at the same time. You can probably. But anyway, so got a lot of things to talk about.
First on the agenda.
As usual. Now, I was having a conversation with a guy called Chris Peters, who is a filmmaker, director, young writer-director, 20 years old.
Believe he made that film 127.
Yeah. Not to be confused with 127 hours or 128 hours. This is a short film, very cool, like crime gangster film. Anyway, very good film. So he's sort of a young protege. He's sort of obviously an up-and-coming talent, and he's obviously looking to shoot his first feature and stuff like that. But, he's just a kid. He's a young kid, 20 years old. And we were having some sort of interesting discussions, chatting about, he said, what advice would you give me, sort of as a filmmaker going forward, from an old man to a young man.
Hey, old man.
Hey, old timer.
Hey, old man, I don't want to make the same mistakes you did.
But I thought that's really
What do you got for me?
I thought that was interesting because obviously there's a lot of, I guess, stock cliche answers to that, which are all probably good.
And line up for some of them, because here they come.
But I was also sort of just trying to think, like, what would I say to my younger self? What lie would I tell them? So they don't give up. And so I just sort of thought, I had a couple of things that I thought. So do you want to, you must have some advice. Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. So the first thing I said is be appreciative and thankful and polite to your crew. I think that's really important. Because chances are, especially to begin with, they're going to be doing you a favour by being there. And maybe for 10 years, they're going to be doing you a favour by being there. So it really helps to be nice because, people like it when you say good things. And also, I try and make it a point to thank everyone and say thanks for your time, etc., etc. Good job. And even still, you'll still forget sometimes, and they will remember that one time that you forgot. They will remember that. That will stick with them and make them grumpy. But, you know, if you can kind of consistently just be nice, don't be an asshole, don't be a big shot director, don't boss everyone around like you're the king fucking shit, you know? Just be down to earth, appreciate all the time that all these people are putting in for you. And I know that on the zombie film, there's a bit of an issue with some of the heads of department. We're like, well, guy's a little bit, we don't really know if we're doing a good job, he's maybe a bit rude. And, I was really shocked at this allegation because from my perspective, I was sort of just getting on with my job. And I wasn't really aware of this. But following on from that, I sort of made it much more of a point to just be like, how you guys doing? Thank you. Thanks for that. That's great. Good job. Like, I actually made a point of it, and everyone got a lot happier. And, that wasn't me necessarily being rude as much as was being focused on my thing. But you got to remember that all these people are waiting for you to say good job because they're fucking busting their ass.
And that's all they're getting.
For your film, for your thing. So if they don't get it, they may see that as a bit of a slight. So that would be my first piece of advice.
And as an addendum to that, give them good food too.
That definitely helps.
Like, if you can't afford to pay them, at least give them a decent lunch. Like, save a bit of money, put a bit of money aside and give them a decent lunch. Because if you're working all day for free and then you get a shit lunch and then you're expected to have a good attitude in the afternoon, it can be tough. Well,
going back to the zombie film again, we had very shitty catering for the first week, maybe.
Yeah.
Week and a half. And basically the caterer was ripping us off. And kind of basically given his leftover food from his other catering to us.
Yeah.
For our official catering.
Yeah.
And people still talk about it to this day.
The horrors.
And the food got...
I got fat.
Well, yeah, but that was afterwards. You can't blame it on that.
That was part of it.
That
was part of it. I lost some weight for that role, and then the catering came on, and it was like shitty, fatty pasta, cold pasta every day.
Yeah, but I really think
lots of lollies.
The issue for you was the custard slices.
Were they giving us custard slices too?
When we got the good food, when the good catering came along, I think was actually your problem. Custard slice once a day for lunch, or twice a day, because sometimes it'd be two.
Well, besides, I was up to fuck all anyway, so I had plenty of time for eating.
But yes, so that's a good one, catering. And the other big one that I thought about, which is something that as a young person it's very difficult, is partner up. If you're a writer director, partner up with a older, experienced writer. Don't just try and write yourself, because I think that the biggest issue with being young and your disadvantage within filmmaking is your lack of life experience. And again, in the zombie films, there's a little bit of a theme about that, which is, Wesley wants to be a writer, but he lives with his parents and watches movies all day. It's very hard to write authentically from that place. Yes, you can talk all about Martin Scorsese and all the Godfathers and whatever the hell else, but you never dated a girl, you've never fallen in love and been heartbroken, you've never seen the world, you all these things that kind of being a sort of kind of nerdy filmmaker makes you not write well. And that's a very hard thing to hear when you're 19, 20. I mean, I know a lot of people said that to me, is they're like, yeah, this is good. You clearly have some talent, but, you're at the moment lacking life experience. And I didn't want to hear that at the time. I was like, oh, no.
You're like, shut up, man. You don't know about me.
Yeah, that's basically exactly. And so, but it did hurt me, and and to be honest, I didn't start writing well till I got that life experience. It was just as simple as that. But if you want to reduce that equation, we'll get someone else to write from that perspective, and you can bring all your youthful exuberance and passion to it, and they can bring their sort of years of wisdom, and you can probably cook up something pretty fucking cool.
Alternatively, you could enrich your life, go on a whirlwind tour of the world, and
Yeah.
date some women or men or whatever,
Yep.
and get that experience.
And again, that was sort of, I guess, what I was in the process of doing. So I kind of was like, well, I'm doing that shit. I'll come over here to London. My girlfriend was a stripper.
I've got life experience,
yeah.
man. I dated a stripper.
Exactly. But the truth was, I didn't. I hadn't. I was gaining it.
enough.
I was accumulating it, and I still wasn't there. And I do recommend that. And of course, the exception to the rule is like, yeah, if both your parents die in tragic circumstances and you have all this horrible shit happen to you and you grow up super fast, maybe you don't need that if you've lived super fast. But for the most of us who haven't had those sort of traumas or only very lightly, then, yes, get someone older to sort of be your mentor, and or not necessarily be your mentor, but I think just from a writing perspective, if you're going to tell stories, let them tell those stories or bring that element to your stories. So those were my two kind of sort of big things that I thought about. What about you?
Well, mine would be it's always going to take longer than you think. Whatever it is that you're making,
Absolutely.
it's going to take longer than you expect. It's going to take longer than you could possibly imagine, probably.
Yes.
It's always going to be a much slower process than you expect it to. And I think, my advice would be to, a bit of a cliche, but just keep on trucking, keep on working on it. Because when it is finally finished and you have it in front of you, it is all worthwhile. But I think it would be very easy to sort of get halfway through or 3/4 of the way through and then just lose that motivation and stop believing in your own project, and give up on it before it's released. And I think that even if you don't believe in your project anymore, even if you're only halfway through it and you've decided you hate it, I think there's still something to be said for just keeping on and finishing it, because a completed project that you hate is better than a half-completed project that you hate.
Yeah, and I think that can stop you in any sort of creative medium halfway through.
Yeah.
You could stop at any area, and particularly filmmaking, so you could get halfway through writing and go, shit, this isn't good enough. You could get halfway through shooting and go, shit, this is too hard. You get halfway through editing and go, oh, it's turning out crap. And I will say, I think to our benefit, we have, for the most part, if we've chosen something to do,
Doesn't matter how crap it is, we still finished
we
it.
follow through, no matter how shit the final result.
We do have a music video we've only half shot.
Oh, that's true.
There's two projects
hanging over my head.
We have two projects
God
hanging
damn
over
it.
our heads. One half shot music video for one of our rap songs.
Yep.
That kind of just didn't really turn out as good as we'd wanted, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. It's been shot and not much else has happened with it. And then the other project is we did a skit for the Guy and Harley web series, which kind of we shot and cut together roughly and then gave up on.
What was that?
It's one we were in the kitchen talking about.
I don't even remember that one.
We shot it in the kitchen right here.
Right. What happens
you
in
edited
it?
a rough cut of it and you said you didn't like it.
Right.
And we watched it and it wasn't that great, and then maybe the footage the edit got lost, something
That's
like that.
right.
The edit got lost, but we still have the footage, but the edit itself got lost, and you didn't want to do it again
Re-edit
because
the
you
whole
didn't
thing.
like it in the first place anyway.
It wasn't funny enough. I'd forgotten all about that, actually.
Yeah, I forget what the topic was of that one.
Just to completely contradict my statement.
Yeah. So that's two that we have.
That's 2 out of fucking 10, 15 years, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
But yeah, so
Perhaps I won't fire you today.
okay. You got anything else? Any other tips for the young up-and-comer?
Nah, that's about it. That's all I've learnt.
I think you go in 13 years, that's all I've learned.
That's probably about it.
I think it's also, you do have to persevere, but I mean, what I've found with filmmaking now is that, for me at least, filmmaking is going as far as you can possibly go in terms of your limits. You're testing yourself, going as far as you can possibly go to your absolute limit of what you think your sort of breaking point is, and then being asked to take it up another level, and then kind of repeating that process over and over again. And so, obviously at the beginning of that, you're kind of like, that can be quite disheartening, but after a while, when you sort of do reach another gear, and you do manage to sort of lift your game to some degree with the next thing or the next part of the shoot or whatever it is, there's a huge sense of satisfaction that comes from that, and if you look back and I think that's in fact when I get the most pleasure almost, is when I'm sort of looking back and I go, oh fuck, actually we come quite a long way, or like these series of things that we've done is actually quite awesome. You just don't really see it at the time because, again, for filmmaking, it's a slow accumulation. Patience. You must have patience, young Padawan.
Well, here's another small piece of advice, and that is don't have a plan B. Because I think that with any creative industry, if you've got a plan B, you will end up using it because you'll get halfway through your creative career as a painter or a musician or a whatever, and then you'll be like, shit, there's no money in this. Nobody appreciates my work. It's actually it's really difficult. No one cares about it. You know what? Luckily I got that degree in accounting, and I'm going to go and be, a bean counter.
Right.
And I'm gonna pay the mortgage with that, and then next thing you know, your dreams are dead, and that's it. So I think like you got to have like no plan B. If you don't have a plan B, then you've really got to make it in your creative industry.
Well, I agree, and in fact, my ex-girlfriend threw me a bit of it's like, where's your plan B? You got to have a plan B. What if this doesn't work out? And it's like, no, I specifically don't need a plan B for the very reason, that Harley has just stated. Like if I was making up plan Bs, that's where I'd be.
Yeah.
In my plan B.
Yeah. I'm 32 years old, god damn it.
I fucking directed a feature film, god damn it.
If I had a plan B, be banker or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. I do sort of agree with that. But it's also very hard to tell, like when you're, 20 or 19 and you're just starting out, to kind of quantify the difficulty of it. You're like, oh, I get that this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but I don't get that it's actually the hardest fucking thing in the world. Like I do not understand what that means.
Hardest thing in the world, slight exaggeration.
I mean, for you personally, like in terms of, I guess, career wise, but you don't understand, like you go, no, you don't get it. You have to sacrifice everything, and this is going to be so fucking difficult, and you don't understand the level of commitment you will have to have.
And when you're 32, you'll still be living in the same squalid conditions you lived in when you were 18.
You might even be poorer.
You might even have less money than you used to have. You'll be single.
Whoa, what are we talking about here? You're single, you're jerking off in your room, in the small hours between making up dialogue lists
in your tiny little room, your tiny little teenage bedroom room
with all your goofy posters up on the wall, like Sylvester Stallone.
Single
because no girl will want to date you because you can't give any time to them and have no money to lavish on them or anything, and are not an interesting person because all you talk about is your fucking films.
Yeah, well, so you can't tell that to a 20-year-old. You can't tell them that's going to happen to them.
And I wouldn't. I would just say it's tricky, man, and do those things that we laid out. So next on the agenda, I want to talk a little bit about Tinder.
All right.
The dating app.
Okay, I've been waiting for this topic to come up.
Now, Tinder have just introduced a premium service.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's basically you pay a certain amount a month and you can unswipe people that you've swiped. So, like...
Now, you're going to have to explain what that means because, I've never used Tinder, being the happily taken man that I am.
Happily married.
So I understand that, there's a picture of a hot person pops up and you swipe them one way, an ugly person, you swipe them the other way.
Yeah. So that's basically exactly what Tinder is. You get a photo pop up, you swipe, I think it's left to say no.
Yep.
And it's right to say yes if you swipe right.
Yeah.
Then they'll see that you've given them a like, and they can, if they want, engage with you. It doesn't mean they will. In fact, most of the time they won't. But that's basically how it works. So what you have is a bunch of people just swiping away, swipe, all these people, and then you see someone you like, you give them the swipe the other way.
Yeah.
Now, the new premium service introduces the fact that you can... So if you've swiped a whole bunch of no's and then you're like, damn, I'm getting low on my Tinder supply.
Yeah.
My Tinder woman supply. Or man.
Because you start seeing... you start running out of people.
Well, yeah, you're just like, those people that were kind of in the sort of grey zone of like, you swipe them away because you were being picky, and now no one has got back to you on your Tinder likes.
So you want to go back.
So you want to go back. This allows you to go back.
Right.
Whereas before they were gone into the Tinder nether world,
right?
Never to return.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. I can't remember. That's the main feature of the premium service.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the other one was.
So have you signed up?
So I am on Tinder, but I don't really use it.
So make sure you swipe him right, ladies, if you see him, because he's a catch. Ignore everything we just said about his little room and masturbating and his
no money,
his posters and no money and no time, and nothing interesting to talk about. Ignore all of that,
all of those things.
And
don't worry
right.
about it.
Swipe him right.
But basically, I don't really engage. Like, I have a Tinder account, but I have never really engaged in it because, to be perfectly honest, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to start Tindering people. So I had the idea of signing up for it. Plus, it's a little bit weird. But I had the idea of signing up for it like I would be like, Tindering people. And then every single time I've ever had the thought of Tindering someone, I've been like, you know what? I got to get into that whole thing and I got to be talking and then we're going to go on a date and I don't actually have time for that.
It sort of almost seems like Tinder is just adding in another step. There's the pre-date before the date.
Exactly.
Because you got to talk on Tinder before they agree to meet you in real life.
They've got to work out that you're not an ex-murderer.
Yeah. Don't you long for the old days where there was no way they could tell if you were an ex-murderer? They just had to meet you.
They just had to meet you in person and decide.
The good old days, eh?
So that's what social media has done.
Yeah.
So anyway, but there's a couple of issues with this new premium service. Some people were saying, fuck paying for this shit. Like, because there are other
free ones.
Yeah, other free ones that are sort of now cropping up and becoming quite popular. I think there's one, maybe not over here, but
Grindr.
Yeah, for the gays, and also Coffee Meets Bagel. There's another one. I can't remember the other name of those are the kind of ones, and they're not charging yet. But Tinder's decided to start charging. But here's the rub. Here is the rub. Okay, they charge more for people over 30. So if you're over 30, you have to pay more than the people under 30 for this premium service.
Yeah.
Which is like Tinder, like a sexual predator, like a groomer grooming you to pay a little bit, and then once you hit a certain mark, you got to fucking pay the full thing.
Yeah.
When you become an old sad loser.
Or surely that's some sort of discrimination as well.
Ageism. Right. We're in the middle of it, guys.
Can't do that, can you?
we're so up in arms because we're both over 30.
Well, what's the deal? The idea is they want just young hip people on it, so it's a way of discouraging the older creepy people.
No, not actually.
Because presumably you would have a bunch of creepy older guys on there.
What they're thinking, this is their sort of mandate for it, is that people over 30 have more money, so they're going to charge them more. Plus, people over 30 are more desperate because they're still single, so they're going to pay more.
That's true.
So they're taking advantage of...
Especially for the women.
People's sad, lonely lives, to be honest. But it is... I'm a little bit disgusted. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that it's wrong because... Just purely for the fact that, one, I'm just as poor as I was before I was 30, right? So this whole idea that I've got more disposable income...
Well, but you are the exception. I mean...
Sure, I'm the
Let's cut the crap here, I mean?
I'm the exception, yeah. Like, you're over 30, you've got more money than you did.
Then when I was 29,
But I also just think it's just kind of bullshit. Like, just make it a flat rate for everyone. Like,
well, it is, I mean...
fuck, we're all just trying to get a date.
Yeah, well,
we're all just trying to meet that special someone. Don't punish people for having been unlucky in love.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the whole point of Tinder? To help those people? Instead, you're going to fucking charge them an arm and a leg. But
also, being the type of person I am, I know that I would refuse to pay based solely off the fact that they're charging me more.
Yeah.
For my age, like that would bother me. Also, I mean, how are they going to stop me from lying about my age?
Here's
like,
the
because it's all
workaround.
connected up to Facebook.
It's connected to Facebook.
Yeah, but you can lie about that on
so
Facebook.
that's what you have to do. Is essentially here's Tinder tip of the day.
Yeah.
Start up a fake Facebook or adjust your Facebook and quit your Tinder account. Make yourself like 25. Right?
Yeah.
So you got 5 years.
Yeah.
Who knows if Tinder will be around in 5 years. And who cares? Hopefully you would have got a date by then.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you're over 30 and you're still single in 5 years, just give
Start
up.
fucking worrying.
Just give up, man.
Start worrying. So essentially, change the thing and then sign up again, and then you obviously won't get charged. Plus, you'll probably do better on
you'll
Tinder
get more dates.
because people
Lying about your age.
don't want those creepy over 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, to be fair, like, as a creepy over 30,
Yep.
I'm probably more interested in someone who, a woman that's knocking on, sort of late 20s,
Yeah,
or so,
me too.
than a girl who's 21. Because what the fuck am I going to talk to her about?
Rather than a
Pokemon?
a PYT, pretty young thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, no, Pokemon is for the sort of mid to late 30s now.
Well,
Not late 30s.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yu-Gi-Oh, you'd have to bring it back to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Bring it back to Yu-Gi-Oh level to talk to a 21-year-old.
Disgusting.
What the hell are we going to talk about? Honestly, I've got nothing to say, almost, to a 21-year-old, I don't think.
Yeah, so that's our take on Tinder. If you're on Tinder, let me know.
Yeah, swipe him right.
Swipe me
him
right.
If you see a guy pigged in on there, swipe him right.
But yeah, it's
So your pictures are up there, right? You're on there, and there's
Yeah,
a picture
I'm on-
of you,
there's
and
a
you've
picture
had
of me.
literally nobody has swiped you right.
no bites.
Nobody. What picture are you using?
Oh,
A handsome one?
Well, there's one. Yeah, like I mean, they're not like I didn't pick like ones where I was doing anything goofy or I had any weird facial hair or anything like that.
Oh, there's your problem. Weird facial hair. That's how you get the swipe rights.
Well, so you suspect, having had like a ginormous beard that your girlfriend hated for months.
To be fair, I had a ginormous beard when I very first hooked up with my girlfriend.
Yeah, but it wasn't like out of control as it was recently.
It was the big one that we had during the shooting of the Guy and Harley episode Blow Up Doll.
Yeah,
That was pretty big.
That's not as bad as what.
Go back and have a look. It was pretty big. Not quite as big, but pretty big.
But from my understanding of Tinder, unless you're type,
Yeah.
no one's going to be, as a guy, no one's going to be swiping you. You're going to swipe 50
Yeah.
girls, and then a few will get back to you.
Yeah. The old numbers game.
Yeah. So that's. But yeah, I'm not really a Tinder participator, to be perfectly honest.
It must be so shit, though, to be honest. It must be so shit. Like, as a woman on Tinder, it can't be that great because,
No.
it doesn't even matter. If you could be as ugly as a hat full of assholes, you're still going to get so many right swipes from all these desperate, dirty pervs.
Yep.
Like, honestly, like, just all of them. And that's going to be the way that most guys operate as well, is they're just going to swipe right on everybody
Yeah.
until somebody replies, you know?
Yeah, definitely some people will.
And it doesn't matter. You
Probably
can-
won't even be looking at the images.
Yeah.
They'll literally just be going right,
Yep.
and they'll do 50 rights, and then
Yeah.
they'll just see if they get any and then they'll look at the people that get back to them, and then just choose not to get back to
Yeah.
the people that they're maybe not feeling like trying to sleep with that evening.
or just wait until Saturday and booty call them at 2 a.m. when they're pissed.
Yeah. So, look, I mean...
This is the world we live in, people.
Tinder's a bit weird. I think you're better off with another a genie in the bottle.
Well, yeah. A genie in a bottle, for those for the uninitiated,
Yep.
is a fake vagina in a can. It's
Which makes it sound like you drink it, but you don't.
Makes it sound kind of creepy. No, it's like a Pringles can. It's like a Pringles can.
Yep.
You
You open it up.
You open
pop
it up.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
There's a vagina inside. There's a vagina in there. You get them from the sex shop, Peaches and Cream, and the other ones.
Now, I was completely uninitiated to this until you left a Christmas present on my pillow.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Brand new. And the seal had not been broken.
Exactly, so I knew I was, but
I considered testing it out, make sure it was all right, but,
you resisted.
I resisted,
Genie in the bottle was lying on my pillow, and I was like, what is this madness? And then you sort of explained it to me, and I was like, I don't know, this sounds...
so here's what you do, buddy. Take your pants down. Come on.
And I was like, this is a bit weird. I'm putting like a bottle on my penis.
Yeah.
and moving it up and down.
Yeah.
You know, this is a little wacky. This is a little wackadoo. I'm not sure I'm on board. And to begin with, I wasn't on board. I was weirded out. I was like, this is a bottle on my wang. This is wrong. This is absolutely 100%.
Harley, you pervert.
I was like, this is 100%. I do not like this. But, you know, I came round. Literally.
So to speak.
I came round and, you know, like, look, wanking is not great. Pretty boring. How many times you done it by this stage, you know? Like a fucking million?
You know, I mean, once a day at least
Yeah.
for 365 days in a year. You know, 31 or 32 years
started
times
as a youth.
365. Well, I guess you didn't start, yeah.
But yeah, it's
a lot.
It's a lot. And, you know, to be honest, at many points I've been like, I'm done with wanking. Wanking's out for me. Because it's just so shit compared to sex, compared to real life sex. And here comes Genie in a bottle.
Revolutionized the game.
Exactly, just changed everything up. And I was like, damn, you know, like this is the future. Welcome to the future. A fucking vagina in a can. Thank you very much. I'm good. I'm golden.
And if you don't want that, you can buy a mouth in a can.
Yeah,
And if you don't want that, you can buy an ass in a can.
that's true.
They're all there. There's options.
Yeah. So, you know, for the singles out there, that's what I recommend.
I saw
as an alternative to Tinder.
and wanking. I actually saw an invention recently, which was essentially a vagina in a can strapped to an iPad, and
Yeah.
basically you like watch porno or whatever.
Yeah.
While fucking your iPad.
Sweet.
Sweet.
The future's here, people.
The future's here. so that's good. Although now a guy gets horny every time he walks down the Pringles aisle at the supermarket. So
Just get a little chubby.
so there is some downside.
They drag me out. The security drags me out, kicking and screaming.
But another problem is they're not that cheap. They're probably like, I think they're something like $30 odd, $30, $35, something like that.
And let me tell you, they don't last long.
Yeah, well, I could be wrong, but I suspect that they're really supposed to be used like once.
A one and done?
Nah, not once, but
Well,
like,
you're never going to just use it once.
No, you never.
At
And
that expenditure.
I remember when I bought it, I said to the guy, I said, so like, how many goes do you get on this?
Well, let's
these
just get
things?
into that for a second. How did you come across this? Now, was this a recommendation, or were you just at the sex shop?
So
what happened?
So what happened was Nick Hughes, who
Yep, Hughesy.
he used to live with us, Hughesy,
Our old flatmate.
and his English friend, some other guy, and me all went out drinking one night on K Road, and we were walking past the sex shop,
Yeah.
and they were like, these dirty Englishmen were like, let's go into the sex shop. And I was kind of embarrassed, you know,
Yeah.
that was what the initial feeling I had. But then I was like, well, harden up, Harley. The boys out on the town, you know, they're having an adventure. Who knows what's in there? So we went in and there was big gigantic rubber dildos,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he had sword fights and stuff. And
Yeah.
the guy behind the counter was real cool. He didn't really seem to mind that there were these three drunken louts in there.
Yeah,
and
he's probably used to it.
He probably was used to it. And so we were in there and just having a look around, and then on the wall there it was, Genie in a bottle. And you know, I was with my two friends at the time, so I just kept it all hush hush.
You didn't say anything.
I didn't say a
You
thing.
didn't make any indications that
Nothing.
your interest had been piqued.
Nothing at all. But I made a little mental note. I was like, note to self, come back here.
Did you like pick it up and read it and go?
Yeah. Hey, check
Look
it
at
out,
this,
guys. Oh, check it out, guys. Realistic tight entry.
Like, who would buy this? Sad losers.
What kind of perv would buy this? And then so the next morning I set my alarm and
Alarm for whenever the shop opened.
and I was back. No, so I went back at some point and bought one. And at one point I had two, and I had a threesome.
Zing.
And then eventually I actually bought Hughesy one
Yep.
for his birthday.
Yep.
Because I was like, this is the perfect birthday present. It's
Well,
a-
it is.
The one I bought him was a blowjob in a bottle.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. So I bought him that, and then I think it must have been Christmas or whatever it was, or your birthday or something. And then it was Guy's turn.
Well,
on the
honestly,
gravy
I think
train.
it was just a random day.
Well, I just brought you on for a laugh.
Yeah, it was just like
just because I love you, bro.
an act of
Random kindness,
benevolence. Yeah,
right.
But I've come round, and I recommend it for all the singles out there. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about a film that I recently watched.
Okay, from vaginas to films.
Yeah, which, hey, that's how it can be sometimes.
That's what we do here.
Now I watched Jupiter Ascending last week. Mm-hmm. Now, a couple things about this film. Science fiction.
Yeah, I like the sound of the name,
Yep.
but I heard some bad things about it.
Yeah, hasn't had great reviews. Kind of a box office bomb. Cost $175 million, grossed $125 million worldwide so far. Mm-hmm. So has not broken even, and that's before you get into the marketing and stuff. And it was rumored it was scheduled for like a sort of a summer release, which is where they release all the blockbusters in Hollywood, and it was bumped to February because they were kind of like, I think this is a bit of a turd. So I watched it. I didn't hate it. Mm-hmm. I kind of enjoyed it. I thought that there was some nice...
What's Jupiter Rising? Because isn't that something else?
I think that's a science fiction film as well.
Right.
But completely unrelated.
Because Ascending and Rising mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Sort of a...
Well, look, but Ascending sounds cooler, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess.
But anyway, so it's had very bad reviews. It's by the Wachowski duo who did The Matrix.
Yes.
So it comes from a very fine pedigree, and everyone's kind of like, well, how did this turn out so bad when you got these two quote-unquote geniuses at the helm? Mm-hmm. I watched it. I didn't hate it. Now, your Oscar boy was in it.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, Eddie Redmayne.
Oh, right.
He was in it. He was like the main bad guy in it.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you right now, he was terrible.
Really?
He basically, this was he.
Now, this Eddie Redmayne is the guy who won an Oscar for The Theory of Everything, playing Stephen Hawking.
Yeah. So in this one, he plays this kind of aristocratic alien, right? But he settled on this voice, which was like this: "Hello, I'm Eddie Redmayne, and I talk like this for the whole film. Kind of hoarse, and you can't hear me that great, and it's quite grating in English." Right? So he taught that was, and I thought at some point they'd cure his throat problems with a Vicks or a fucking throaty. It never happened.
Or a punch to the throaty.
Yeah, and it never fucking happened. And it was, and I think that he'll probably be up for a Razzie for that next year.
Right.
But it didn't come out in time for him to be nominated
this year.
For a Razzies are the opposite of the Oscars. They are the worst films and performances in a given year.
It's a raspberry, right?
Yeah.
That's what that is.
And anyway, so he was quite bad, and everyone was quite bad in it. The script was quite bad. Dialogue was quite stilted. Sean Bean, your boy from Game of Thrones, he was in it, and his name was Stinger. Mm-hmm. He had something to do with bees. He lived in a bee sanctuary. Anyway, it wasn't that great, but now. You remember we talked a little bit about the Sony hacks, right?
Yes.
Where all this material was released. Well, there was also, and this is not many people know about this, we kind of got the inside scoop on this one.
Ding, 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 ding. Guy and Harley show exclusive. Guy and Harley podcast exclusive.
Warner Brothers hacks. And we have a recorded conversation because, everyone's like, well, how and why did this film get made? What happened here? This big old turd of a film. How did it happen? What happened? Well, we have exclusively stolen from the interwebs, right? The conversation where the film was the genesis of the film. And we're going to play that for you now. So this is this conversation to find out. This is how big, bad Hollywood films get made. Here we go.
Andy, Lana, great to see you. The Wachowskis, Matrix, Mr. Anderson. Love your work. So, what do you got for me?
Well, we'd like to pitch a new science fiction film called Jupiter Ascending.
I'm listening.
So, it's about this girl, Jupiter Jones, who cleans toilets for a living.
The common touch. I like it.
But also turns out to be the exact genetic match of the Queen of the Universe.
Oh. Okay, that's weird.
And she gets caught up in this political intrigue of this alien race who are harvesting human beings to keep them alive for thousands of years.
Wait, you mean like the exact plot of The Matrix?
Look, it's totally different. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, tell that to the Matrix sequels.
What?
Never mind.
Anyway, so this toilet cleaner Queen of the Universe takes her rightful place on the throne and saves all the humans at the same time who were going to be harvested in 2 days.
So, like Neo is the one and saves the human race in The Matrix.
Well, no, this is more like Game of Thrones with aliens.
Interesting. And how much bullet time would you say you're going to be in this film?
None whatsoever.
Look, I gotta be honest. I'm not really feeling it. Sci-fi just isn't really hot right now.
But we did The Matrix.
Sure, but what have you done for me lately? Speed Racer? Ha! Look, I know we have a long history. Shit, I still remember when you were the Wachowski brothers, not the Wachowski brother and sister. I remember when Lana was Larry, for God's sake. But this isn't for us. I'm afraid we're gonna have to pass.
Hold on. Just a second. There's another key plot point we haven't mentioned yet.
It's 100% no, but go on.
Channing Tatum is going to play a ginger alien elf-wolf hybrid who falls in love with Jupiter. He has cool moon boots, which give him special powers of flight.
A ginger alien elf-wolf hybrid who can fly, you say?
And he's going to have his top off for like a good third of the film.
Sold! You had me at Tatum as a ginger alien elf wolf, but this topless thing is just the icing on the cake.
But we haven't even talked budget.
How's $175 million sound?
I think we can make that work.
Congratulations. I have a great feeling about this and don't see how any of it could possibly go wrong.
And that is leaked conversation there of how they greenlighted that film.
Wow, that's really interesting.
So, you know, just a bit of inner workings of Hollywood. We like to, you know, scoop you here first.
Yeah, wow. Geez, that was really interesting. That was who was recording that? Why were they recording in his office?
Well, I think that they just basically, who
was that guy with the gruff voice? Was he some sort of studio executive?
That was the studio executive, I think, and I think, look, you know, the Wachowski brother Andy did sound like he had a New Zealand accent, and he sounded a bit like me.
He did.
But
he sometimes he sounded like he didn't know what he was supposed to say.
Well, I think that is related to the fact that he's probably been on a location scout in New Zealand recently, and he's kind of acquired the accent, and obviously not knowing what to say, he was a little bit lost because this is he was trying to pitch this big film.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, that's all my questions answered.
So we had a little bit of fan feedback.
Yeah, well, actually, just going back to films for a wee second there.
Oh, let's go.
I did actually I watched a film recently called Fury, which I thought was aptly named because that's what I felt when I finished watching it.
So you didn't like it?
I was not feeling it. This is a Brad Pitt film, Fury, set in World War II.
Tanks.
Tank warfare. And I sort of asked the guy in the video store, I was like, so Fury, is it good? What's the story?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because Angie was quite hesitant to get it because, you know, a World War II war film was a bit of a tough sell.
In tanks.
In tanks, you know? I was like, come on, baby, tanks!
Hard sell.
Hard
sell for a date film.
Yeah, she wasn't impressed. And then, so I asked the guy in the store, I was like, so, like, you know, Fury, is it good? And he was like, yeah, it's good. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of like Saving Private Ryan, but in tanks with more like tank kills. And I was like, okay,
sounds great,
cool, that works for me. But then I watched it, and it was nothing like Private Ryan. It was terrible. It was like just laughably unrealistic the whole way through, and it was just kind of had this like gung ho like. American sort of thing where it was just like, you know, like you probably saw like literally, 600 Germans get killed, and you saw probably like 8 Americans get killed, something like that, you know. And it was just laughably inaccurate as far as like the capabilities of infantry and the capabilities of a tank. You know, like you know, without giving anything away, there is a lot of times where there's tanks fighting against like infantry, you know, and in the real world, like tanks don't fight against infantry without infantry to support them, because infantry can get up close to them and can, you know, disable them. You know, tanks always tend to go with infantry to protect them from the infantry, and they just go and fight the tanks. You know, but in this film, you know, I mean, like the tank was basically just this impenetrable fortress on wheels that, you know, rolled around just, you know, killing everybody and everything.
How was old Brad Pitt?
Well, I didn't actually. I mean, he was fine, but I did have a couple of beefs with Brad Pitt. Angie was a fan of Brad Pitt.
Was she?
That was, yeah, she liked
weird.
that. Angie enjoyed him. But there was two issues I had with this film. Not spoilers.
Yep.
Although I am talking about some stuff, so I don't know. But like, anyway, like one is that he takes his shirt off, and it was just completely unnecessary. Like, watch any other World War II film; they very rarely take their shirts off. Like, it's not a thing that they do.
Mosquitoes don't want to get bit, so you keep your shirt on at all times.
Also, World War II was fought in Europe. Europe's actually quite a cold place, depending on what time of year it is. You know, and this didn't appear to be like a balmy hot summer or anything like that. But here is Brad Pitt taking his clothes off, and it's like he's only taking it off because he's Brad Pitt.
How did he look?
Oh, he looked great. Oh, he looked amazing. This guy's like 55 or something now.
I know, it's crazy.
And he looks amazing. And another thing, though, that I took issue with was there was this really weird rape scene where Brad Pitt and a young private rape a woman.
What?
Yeah, but they kind of make it seem like it's okay. It's kind of like this, oh yeah, no, rape's all G. Like, you know, so basically Brad Pitt and this... Have you seen it?
No.
Okay, well, do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Well, so Brad Pitt and this young fella, this new guy who's only been in the army for 8 weeks, and he's like maybe like 20, I guess.
Yeah.
And they go into a house after they've sort of conquered a German town. They're deep in the German heartland. It's right at the end of the war.
And then they're deep in a German.
Yeah. and then they sort of go into, like Brad Pitt sees, you know, a woman peeking out a window. So him and this young guy go in and, you know, sort of force themselves into the house and sort of make them cook some food for them and all this type of thing.
Yeah.
And then Brad Pitt's like, so anyway, if you don't... So there's like an attractive like 40-year-old woman and sort of an attractive girl who they don't really say how old she is, but they kind of imply that she's a teenager because like the older woman is kind of hiding her under the bed and all this sort of stuff. And then anyway, Brad Pitt's like... So they have a wee sweet little moment where the young guy plays piano with this young woman, and then Brad Pitt sort of goes like, so anyway, if you don't take her into that bedroom, I'm going to... You know, and then the guy's like, okay, and then he takes her into the bedroom, and they sort of have this like willing sex, you know, like she's on board for it, but kind of for no reason, and only really because he's an armed soldier in her house
with guns
and shit, you know, like, and it's kind of just this weird sort of rapes or G kind of scene, you know, like it was really strange, you know, I was like, and it was almost like they were trying to make it, they were like, we need to get some sex into the story somehow. We've got to get Brad Pitt's shirt off, and we've got to get some sex into the story. So how can we possibly work sex into a story without it being rape? And they're like, well, we can't really, but we'll just kind of
gloss it over.
We'll make it a glossy kind of rape where it's more like she just has sex under duress, and that's okay.
That's a little, because obviously as a German citizen, you're not going to want to have sex with some
conquering
dirty, smelly Yankees that just that have slaughtered all your
brothers and
your
fathers
kinfolk. They probably orphaned, you know, that you know, girl and you know, killed the brother and the dad.
Yeah.
And now they're gonna have sex with them.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but the power of Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Well, how did that film do?
Yeah, it did quite well.
Was it critically received? How was it critically received?
I think it was kind of mixed reviews, but leaning towards positive.
Right.
And like did reasonably well at the box office. Like wasn't a huge hit, but was definitely like for a World War II tank film, which is not a particularly like engaging subject to everyone. They would say it was a big success probably. So, you know, that's just the sick minds.
Yeah. Well, terrible. I don't recommend it.
So there's two films we don't recommend this week.
Jupiter Ascending and Fury.
Although I just watched...
it sounds like Fury might have been maybe better than Jupiter Ascending.
I'd say it was, yeah. Although I watched Focus with old Will Smith. Con Man movie. Pretty good. Will Smith is good.
Oh, that guy's gone from strength to strength.
Well, not really. He's just come off giant flop and hasn't made a film in a couple of years. After Earth with his son.
Yeah, I did want to see that. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay. I did want to see it because I'm very interested in sort of sci-fi, films. But
it's not just a bad film, like a little bit. It's really bad.
Terrible.
Yeah. But
there was a few that came out at the same time of sci-fis that I kind of missed. One of them was that After Earth. Another one was that one with not Ben Affleck. That other one, Matt Damon.
Elysium.
Yeah. I wanted to see that too. Haven't seen it.
Also not that great.
Right.
But yeah, After Earth was it just made everyone look bad. It made Will Smith look bad. It made his son look bad. There was just nothing good about it. And, this is his kind of recovery film. But, that's the thing. You see Will Smith, cracking some jokes, being very charismatic. That's what he does. And this is what he's doing in this film. And, he has good chemistry with his leading lady. And it's really quite an enjoyable romp. It's nothing too deep, but it's pretty damn cool. So I recommend that. Focus. Forget about Jupiter Ascending and Fury. Just go with Focus. Big Willie style. Now we had some feedback, some questions from fans. What we got?
All right. So, sorry, excuse me. I've got a little bit of a slight cold. Now, so first question we had was from Tyler Adams. Now, Tyler Adams also very kindly is the same guy that made us some new thumbnails for our podcast.
Which we'll try and include on this episode.
Hopefully this very episode will have a different thumbnail to usual, and that was thanks to Tyler Adams. Now, Tyler Adams asked, if you could adapt any artist's work, including books, paintings, comics, games, etc., into a film, what would it be, and how might you go about it?
Right. Well, for me, that's easy. I'm just adapting shit into movies at this stage. So I would have a few picks here, but there's a particular series of fantasy books called the Assassins Trilogy, which is now actually
Robin Hobb.
Yep. Which is
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're not mistaken, because I've fucking lectured you about reading them and you haven't.
Well, I finished the second book of Game of Thrones today. I'm busy.
So it is very Games of Thrones-ish, except it's just from one character's perspective, which I quite like, because I obviously you get very invested in that character. So it's about this guy called Fitzchivalry Farseer, who is basically a bastard heir to this kingdom, but because he's a bastard, he's obviously not part of the official royal line, so he becomes an assassin, and it's all about him being trained to become an assassin, and him sort of basically his effect that he has on the royal lineage and the world at large through his actions. And it's incredibly well written. I would say it's probably my favorite fantasy book of all time. And when I read Lord of the Rings, I was like, that's it, I'm done.
Yep.
There's never going to be another, I read science fiction fantasy all the time, and I was like, but there's never going to be another book series that will mean that much to me. And this book series did, and it's very cinematic. It's very interesting. There's 3 parts would act as 3 movies. So, if I could do anything, in terms of adapting, adapting something, because a lot of the stuff I think about is my original, writing original screenplays. But if I was going to adapt anything, it would be this book series, because it's just so deep, it's so involving. They just have so many really interesting ideas that, and for as much of a reason as to turn people onto the books in the same way that Game of Thrones has turned people onto the books. It's like, one, you're opening up a world, you're saying, this is my visual interpretation of this amazing story, but go and take your own visual interpretation and your own more mental interpretation by reading these books, and kind of do what Lord of the Rings did for this series. So that's what I would really like to do. There's also another comic book graphic novel series called Why the Last Man, which they are adapting into, I think, a TV show or maybe a film. Like, it's sort of been in the works for a long time, so the rights are all tied up. So it's sort of been in active development for a long time, but it's basically about this guy who is sort of like, after this virus, thinks he is one of the last men on Earth, him and his monkey, and he's sort of traveling around in this post-apocalyptic future with this monkey.
Does he ever spank that monkey?
No, I don't think so.
No. All right. Maybe consider that for the movie adaptation.
And why it's called Why the Last Man is because he's the last man on Earth. There's women. Plague has wiped out all the men.
Shit, what a shame.
Except for him. Tough break, huh?
Although, probably realistically, the women would tie him up and he'd just be stuck there, breeding, just for breeding. He'd just be there. The women would be running the world. He wouldn't be ruling it like a king. He'd just be in some basement somewhere, donating sperm all day.
They explore a lot of interesting ideas around that and sort of how he survives, and because obviously they think he's got the cure. And so, but it is a very cool graphic novel, and I really love that. So that's another one that I'd like to adapt into a film. I think that would be a very cool film.
All right.
What about you?
Well, Warhammer 40,000. That's Warhammer 40k. Now, Warhammer 40k, for those of you that don't know, is based off
which is everyone.
No, it's a very popular game. It's a tabletop game where you paint your miniatures. It's like Dungeons and Dragons, except for it's kind of, I think it's gone on to become more successful than Dungeons and Dragons.
The people that play it get pretty used to painting their miniatures.
They do. They do. That's all they do. And so yeah, it's a tabletop game where basically you buy the models, you sort of assemble the models, paint them, personalize them, kind of thing, create an army, and each model is worth a certain amount of points, kind of thing, and you've got dice, and but you go and you meet with someone, and he'll have his army, and you'll have a battle against each other, and there's rules and strategy and all that type of thing, and. But what's interesting about it is there's a real wealth of backstory in this universe. It's a very, very rich universe.
Right.
And so there's, I've been following it for literally since I was like 14 kind of thing. I've been interested in this, But
you don't play the game.
I don't play the game, but I keep an eye on it. Just more on the fiction side of things. I'm really interested in the sci-fi. It's basically really, really dark sci-fi. So the good guys don't win all the time. Sometimes they'll win, or sometimes the good guys will have to do really horrible things in order to win, or or maybe just straight up the bad guys will just win. Sometimes you'll read an entire book expecting the hero to come out on top at the end.
They don't.
Doesn't come out. Because and I find that really interesting and refreshing. I enjoy that kind of thing. Plus, it's there's lots of twists and turns in the story, and like I said, it's just got a very rich history, and there's a very dedicated fan base out there who really love Warhammer 40k, and all of them for years now have been baying for a film to be made, a Warhammer 40k film, but it hasn't happened yet. There's sort of been some negotiations, some talk of it happening, kind of thing, but I think the issue is that to do it properly, you really need to spend a lot of money to really do it really, really properly. Because if it's sort of the far future, it's the 41st millennium, right? So it's the far, far future, and it's very, everything is very futuristic and gritty and advanced, and you just you couldn't do it for cheap, basically,
right?
And so I would like to see that turned into a real film, and I do think it could be very successful if you take one of the interesting stories from Warhammer 40k and turn it into a film. I think you could actually make a lot of money, because some of the stories are very interesting, and you've got that built-in fan base already.
Well, get writing, buddy.
Get writing. Well, I have seen a couple of. I've seen one fan fiction film that was made like an animated one.
Yep.
That was it was feature length, and it was it was pretty good. It was pretty decent. So there are people out there working on it, but just none with the big Hollywood backing, as far as I'm aware.
Well, not to have film geek cred disputed, I will point out they are making a Warhammer film.
Ah, okay.
But it's not Warhammer 40k.
It's the old one.
It's like fantasy Warhammer with orcs and goblins and shit. Yeah,
there's two Warhammers. There's Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k. Warhammer 40k is the sci-fi set in the 41st millennium, and Warhammer Fantasy is the one that's set, with elves and dragons and, set sort of in the Dungeons and Dragons kind of days.
Well, I'd be much more interested to see your version
The sci-fi.
than the one they're actually making.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that they've decided to do that. But the Warhammer fantasy world is also still pretty interesting because it's the same sort of idea. It's still very dark, and it might be set in that fantasy time, but the good guys are often bad guys as well, and the good guys don't always win.
Well, you pick one book for me from your fucking nerdy Warhammer fucking collection. You just pick one, just the best one,
And
the
you
one
read
that
it.
represents the most amazing. All encapsulate everything that you love about it.
Yeah.
You give that to me, I'll give it a read.
All right. Okay, deal. But it's got such a rich history, man.
Don't start.
Like there's like terminology in it that is like it refers to things that you might not know about if you haven't read sort of the history of it.
I'll just have to use my imagination.
You will. So yeah, that's my answer, Tyler, is Warhammer 40k.
And mine is the Assassins Trilogy, and then I'd hopefully spin that out into the second trilogy, which I can't remember.
Six topology.
Well, there's going to
5?
be 9. There's 7 so far. They're just started on the third trilogy now, but they're all very complete. Yeah.
I think it might be time for the now we don't have a true troll hole this week,
Right.
but we do have some user comments.
Yeah, well, let's...
So let's delve right into
okay.
the troll hole. That's a pre-recorded thing. That's the thing. Yeah. All right. So we got 2 comments this week on our stuff. Now they're both on last week I did poetry and I recorded it and I put it on the internet.
Big success.
It was a big success, and
People loved it.
They loved it, and so we've got 2 comments here, both from the same person. Kudos to you, 37.
Yep.
This is his YouTube name. 1. Hey Harley, I can see the whole crowd from the reflection on your bald head. Ha ha. So that's good. It's good. It's an attack on my physical appearance. It's hilarious. That's good. I'm actually very sensitive about my receding hairline, my 5 head. So thank you.
It's everyone's go-to, isn't it?
It is. Oh, attack him because he's bald and hairy.
Oh, he's he's lost. He's lost. Like
he prematurely lost his hair. Classic. Oh, lol. So that's good. Thank you for that. Kudos to you, 37.
What's the next one?
And the next one is more creepy than trolly.
Right.
I have a short poem for you. This is what the comment is. I have a short poem for you. It's called Ode to Harley. Oh Harley, that bald head, as frightful as it may seem, I would like to lick it clean. Oh Harley, that hairy chest, as frightful as it may seem, I would like to lick it clean. Oh Harley, you're so sexy to me. So that's good. So I'm inspiring people.
So he took you down a peg only to build you back up.
Build me back up, yeah.
But it is interesting that's that gay fan base again, who just really they just cannot get enough of you.
Yeah, well, they're very supportive.
Yeah,
To be honest, I'm pretty flattered.
yeah. Well, look, what I don't understand is that they get a big kick out of you, right? But what am I, chopped liver?
Yeah, how come the gay guys don't like me?
I'm a dude, right? I'm not bad looking. I mean, why's the gay guys not loving me? We do things together, me and you. This is a team thing.
Okay, first things first. They do love you. A bunch of them have added you on Facebook as
Right.
well. Secondly, and this is probably what it's really about, is that you don't get your kid off enough. Like, I'm the one who's always naked on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's luring them in, I think, because they can. Well, I mean, obviously, there's my beautiful hairy body,
Yeah.
which is attracting them. But you're a very hairy man yourself,
Yeah.
but just not quite to the same extent. But if you got that hair out a bit more, well, perhaps you could have a gay following too.
To match, to rival. Yeah. Well, tune into older then.
Yeah, well, yeah, guy gets his kid off in there. But in all honesty, I am very grateful and very flattered for all of these guys that follow our stuff, because they've been following us for years. There's a sort of a whole bunch of guys that have been following us for probably like I don't know, 8 or 9 years now.
It's awesome. And, to be honest, if not for them,
we wouldn't have nearly as many views as we have.
Where would we be?
Yeah. So this is a big shout out to all you guys that are, been supporting us. We do really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What else we got?
Well, yesterday I got recognised as an actor. I got recognised, right? Which was pretty cool, pretty exciting.
Sure.
I was like, "Oh, what's this all about?" Great, awesome. So I had an audition for an Australian commercial. I was sitting in the waiting room, and this guy goes, "I'm just trying to think where I know you from."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's probably going to say this commercial that is on TV at the moment for New World Master Butcher, which I'm in, and it plays quite a bit. It's not like it's not iconic or anything like that, but it's on regularly. So I thought it's probably just going to be that, And then he goes, "Yeah, I think it was. Were you in The Heat and Eat?" And The Heat and Eat is an obscure skit of ours from literally 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a really good skit of ours, but I think it's probably only got something like 20,000 views or so. So he was one of the 20,000 that had seen it, and then
you just randomly bumped into him.
He randomly bumped into me, and he was like, "Yeah, you from The Heat and Eat? Oh, I really like that." And he was like, "Yeah, that was like 5 years ago, though, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Yes, it was."
What the fuck have you been doing since then?
Well, no, more just how the hell did you even remember this like random skit from the internet that you saw 5 years ago?
Sticks in people's minds.
Well, I think he might have actually seen it on local TV,
right?
Like on the local cable TV kind of thing, because it got played a bit on Channel 9, which is a Dunedin channel, but that got via satellite put through a bunch of other sort of national, local sort of channels as well. So maybe you saw it there somehow. Yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting to be recognised for anything. I'll keep waiting.
Yeah, weren't you that guy from that Auckland ad?
Yeah, I did a tourism ad a while ago, but and people did. I think actually did get recognised for that one time, but that's been and gone, and I have not been in anything since.
Well, I should hear very soon, Monday, which is tomorrow for you listeners. If you're listening on Sunday when this has very first come out, tomorrow I should be finding out if if I'm on the shortlist for that ad.
The pendulum, will drop. So I think we're about out of time.
Are we?
Yeah, I think we are. No time for Twitter because I ain't got my phone with me.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
So it's time for us to...
Well, I had one very, very quick Twitter one, actually.
Oh,
so this
shit.
could be the Harley Neville tweet segment.
Well, let me play the theme song, then.
Let me play the theme song.
Okay.
This is a pre-recorded theme song. It never changes. It's always exactly the same one every single week.
Roll it.
It goes like this. It goes... Tweeter. It's the same every week. I don't know. It just sounds different sometimes.
Nah.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is Harley's. I've only got one for you this week. It goes. This is from Tips for Actors. Befriend casting directors on Facebook and stay in their heads by constantly inviting them to play Candy Crush Saga. That's good advice.
That's good.
It's great advice.
I like it. Well, we better play the theme song again.
All right. So yeah, that was the Twitter section for this week. Here we go. Twitter.
And that was the Twitter segment. So look, thank you so much. You're the firm 50.
Yeah.
The firm 50.
As you're known.
that are listening every week. And we'll be here again.
Yep. There was, very, very briefly, there was one last viewer topic this week, actually. Hummus.
Why is it so good?
Yeah, why is it so good? You got anything to say about that? That was from Christian Damstead.
I do have one thing to say about that.
Yeah. Give us better topics next week?
No. Here it goes. You ready?
Yes.
If you want lunch, then bring the hummus. Ju-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Ooh.
See what I did there? Because Jews eat hummus.
Oh, do they? Okay, makes sense.
And that's from the Wu-Tang.
Ah, there you go.
Anyway.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, well, that fits nicely with a small piece of hummus trivia that I looked up. A, comes from Egypt.
Yep.
B, the Lebanese claim it as their own.
Right.
But as a national dish kind of thing.
Yeah.
But apparently the Israelis, which is those Jews we were just talking about, have released some internationally some like hummus brands.
Yep.
And people are starting to think that hummus comes from Israel.
Right.
And the Lebanese are like, well, what the hell? And they want to put like a painting on it and be like, no, come on, guys, like stop thinking that This is your national dish. It's ours.
Yeah.
Something like that. So there you go. But a hummus trivia for you. That was Christian Damstead. So thank you for that excellent topic. And if you, dear listeners, have any topics for us next week, please get at us on the Pigville Productions Facebook page, or add me, Harley Neville, on Facebook, or email me at pigvilleproductions@hotmail.com.
Or Guy Pigden at GPZ, GPIZZEY. And look, put a review up on iTunes, man. Write a review.
Please.
Do it for the cause. So, if we get that 50 up there, then we're in the business. But thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
And if you want beef, then bring the ruckus. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Straight from the motherfucking something busted. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
You've been listening to the Guy and Harley podcast, proudly brought to you by Pigville Productions.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.